Back to normal.
Yeah, so normal.
Kicking off 2024 with my new shawl. Thank you, Justin's mom, Janice. Look at that.
How nice is that?
Look at that. It's so soft. It's so soft. I love it.
Yeah.
So you're back. You got back last night.
Got back last night. I was in Orlando, Florida, and I woke up today to snow on the ground. So I've really been...
Woo.
I've been hitting all the bases.
How was Orlando?
Orlando was great. I was meeting up with, jamming with, writing with the old guys from No Address.
Super fun.
Which was my band that lasted from 2000-ish to 2006-ish. Mm-hmm. And we were on Atlantic, and we've talked about it on the podcast and blah, blah, blah. And so it was most of those guys. And then the drummer was Kevin Weidinger, currently an Episcopal minister.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Who was in my high school band that I played with for 4 or 5 years, and we put out CDs and did shows, and we've talked about that. And I have not seen Kevin in at least 25 years. And it was really funny. There was zero... To start with, throughout the weekend, we were hanging out, and there was some catching up and what you've been up to. But to start with, there was no catching up. There was no easing into it. It was just like we were like right back to like we might have played together last week.
That's so cool. That's so good to have friends like that.
Yeah, it was just, and like I said, throughout the weekend, we were like, talking about what had been going on and, and doing some of that catch-up stuff. But,
you didn't start out with that. You're just like, hey...
There was no,
make some music.
like, hey, let's figure out what our relationship is or whatever. It was just like, we were just like...
Yep.
You're playing drums, I'm playing guitar. Like...
Yeah. And you were talking to me about how tight you guys were. Like, you wrote new music. You weren't just, like, jamming on covers or something. You guys got together and wrote a bunch of songs.
Right. We wrote a little bit. So when we got together the last time here in Denver... we mainly ran over old material and just sort of jammed old material. And we wrote a little bit, and this time we were like really focused on writing, and we wrote 7 songs in really 2 days. Mm-hmm. I was there for 3 days. Well, yeah. And but the first night we didn't even play. We just sort of set up gear and and kind of caught up and everybody was coming in at different times. So really in 2 days we wrote like 7 songs. And man, hearing some of those recordings, because we recorded everything, for writing sessions, it is shocking how tight that band sounded. Like, it was really surprising how, just all the little like, there was a riff where there were some little stops, da 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 da, and it was just like all the air gets sucked out of the room on that little 8th note, and some of the ends and stuff where we were like doing like sharp, and like.
Without even really talking about it, right? Like just like that's the way it goes.
That's I mean, I've said what was interesting about jamming with those guys, and I've said this about No Address before. I don't know if I've said it on the podcast. What the little bit of an advantage that band had is everybody in that band were songwriters, and maybe even if they didn't do that much songwriting for No Address, they were songwriters, so they were song people. And Kevin, who we were talking about, doesn't necessarily write songs, but he's a very song-oriented guy and has been for...
The drummer.
The drummer. And he has been his whole life. And Randy wrote tons of songs. He's a great songwriter. But it's interesting working with... It's sort of almost a little rare that you're working with 5 guys in a room who are all song guys. Like, there are plenty of musicians who are just very focused on their part or what their instrument is adding to the whole thing, but they don't have a great sense of song, or they're not thinking in terms of the song. They're thinking about like what can I add? What can I do on my instrument that's really cool? Mm-hmm. Whereas like working with the No Address guys, both before and now, everybody was just so song oriented that like everybody, and because everybody has that mindset and that experience, to be fair, some of it is just that experience and having done it at a professional level as far as it went. Everybody would just have this sense. I mean, there would be even times where we're jamming and we're just like jamming something and we'd all stop because we're like, okay, clearly that's where it changes.
Right. But we don't have the next part
because
yet.
we could all feel that that's
Right.
where the change was, right? That's where it changes.
Right.
We didn't know what it changes to, but we
Uh-huh.
all know it changes there. So,
Yeah.
and that's sort of what let us write songs so quickly. Is it was just so, and there was so little arguing about parts or ideas. Like somebody be like, "What if we did this?" And you try it, and even the person whose idea it was would be like, "Nope, didn't work. Next thing."
Yeah.
You know. Like no ego, just everybody really playing in service of the song. Like let's make this song good, and then later I can figure out cool stuff that I can play. But like let's just get the song good, and it was really fun playing with, you know. And we're lucky, the people we play with, Nate and Ryan, and certainly Stax and
Yeah.
all the guys. Those are also song guys, but the older I get, the more I realize it's rare, and how often you have one or two guys in bands who aren't really song guys. They are like, I play bass, you know, and I want to do cool bass stuff or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a blast. It was really like a reminder of like, oh, it's really fun to play with guys who are looking at it that way.
Yeah.
You know, and nothing, we're not trying to do any big thing. We're just having fun, and we're probably going to put out some stuff, but we'll see. And yeah, it was just a real blast. I mean, long weekend, exhausting.
Yeah. And then you came home late last night and then had to get up early for the Performance High annual staff meeting.
Which
Biannual.
we should talk about.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, let's
I don't
jump
even know
into
like where to begin with that. Because I don't want to bore people too much, but
No, not with the details. But
Yeah.
long story short, you have done annual meetings by...
yeah, the last maybe 3 years, maybe.
Right.
I mean, for a long time, we didn't have meetings at all, ever.
Right, and the staff was a lot smaller.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
I mean, if there's only 2 people on staff,
What do we
people,
mean?
we just
We
we talk when we need to talk.
Yeah.
And then I think our first annual staff meeting was when COVID hit. Because I was like, we need to all see each other, and I need to tell everybody the state of the nation.
And the game plan.
And the plan A and the plan B and the plan Z for if things really go to shit.
Right.
Like, so like here is the worst case scenario.
Sure.
So yeah, that started the annual meetings, and they were always just Zoom, and they were not exactly optional, but like I didn't make a big deal about people making time for them. It's like you can watch the Zoom recording later if you want to. This
Right.
is me talking to you, telling you what's what. And this one, we got most of the people in the room in person, and we got everyone present online. I mean, online or in person, everybody was there.
Yeah.
I don't think Ingrid and Morgan could make it for the entire thing, because I heard a couple people leave. But you know, this is the first day back at school, so they teach public school.
So they did what they could.
Yeah.
And that's great.
So anyway, yeah, the Kristens and I have been preparing for 3 months really intensely, basically rebuilding the operating system for the company, or maybe even building it for real for the first time. This feels like a complete rebirth of the company.
Right. And this
yeah.
meeting was where you're rolling out.
Yeah.
Here's
Exactly.
the new...
It's the entrepreneurial operating system. It's what it's called.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everything from why I do it, to why we do it, to what our core values are, to our processes, to our goals, our 1 year vision, 3 year vision, 10-year vision, our new tagline, our new brand promise, what we promise our clients, our 4 differentiating points in the market, which are called the 4 uniques. I mean, everything. It's about who we are and what we do and how we do it, and you know, and all kinds of new plans for better serving our clients and retaining them better and helping them reach their goals more frequently and better. I mean, it was everything. And I was a little nervous going into it. I mean, I knew I did my homework, and I'm not like, I wasn't nervous about speaking in front of everyone. I was, like I told you on the way in, it was like I made something that is the best of my ability, and I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it.
Sure did.
And I was like, man, I hope they like it.
How could you not? I mean, how could you not feel that way, you know?
Yeah.
And everyone did, and it was very impressive.
It felt like it went over really well.
I think you did such an extraordinary job, just to skip where you're going to come back on. I know you've been reading books and stuff, so you got it from places, but you did an extraordinary job of going from the most basic of motivations all the way to the on the ground realities of what it means to, and we're talking the scope of the meeting. You weren't making a, direct through line, but you covered all the bases of, our basic motivations, your basic motivations and mission to the company's basic, and then here's what that looks like, and here's how we're going to implement it, and just, I thought it was, clearly you worked on it, and clearly, it was just it was compelling. You got a round of applause. You deserved it.
That was touching. That was really touching.
You really deserved it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. I made big goals, and I've made big goals before with Performance High. Shortly after Ray Lynn started was when we started getting some momentum, because before Ray Lynn joined, I was everything. I was admin, management. I was absolutely everything.
Right.
I was everything from email inquiries to you name it. And so she came on and she started freeing up some time for me, and that's when I started feeling like I actually can grow this thing. And so I set some goals of like expanding into different cities year by year, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't have the framework. It's one thing to set lofty goals and be like, in 10 years we can do this, in 5 years we can do that. And it's a totally different thing to ratchet that down to like, what does that mean if it's even a 10-year goal? What does that mean 3 years from now? What are the numbers that support that? What are the strategies you're going to pursue? Right. And then the 1-year goals. And then the more important thing, everybody's familiar with how to break down a big goal into smaller goals. Mm-hmm. That's not the thing. The challenge is, how do you keep your eye on the ball for that long?
Right.
That's the hard thing, and that's why this thing is called the Vision Traction Organizer. It's, you take your vision that you've spent, maybe you've consulted with some expensive consultants, and they love helping you make a vision. That's the easy part.
That is the easy part.
The hard part is, what do you do every Monday morning to keep moving in the right direction? And I feel like I have that now, so I'm really excited.
Well, I was very literally inspired.
Good.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I think everybody else was as well.
Cool. I'm not a super rah-rah person. I'm never going to be someone like Tony Robbins who's going to be like, it's time for the annual meeting, and come out to like LED screens and live music and a big old ballroom or anything. That's not me. But I did still want it to be inspiring. I always strike this balance between, like, I try to strike a balance between reality and optimism.
Well, and I was so struck by two things, which is your transparency with people, which means the world to people, that you're willing to be like, here's the realities of what it takes to do all of this.
Yeah.
And
it's so different from what it used to be.
It's
my gosh.
Yeah, it's amazing. But the other thing is the amount of, and I don't know that you were conscious of doing it, the amount of times you said we. Where you were talking about, just one example, you said it a million times and in a million different ways, but there were times when you were talking about our possible real estate problems. And maybe that means we buy a building, and maybe that means we, and in reality, it is your business. It's going to be you buying the building. But the fact that you're but your mindset is, I want all of you guys to go with me.
Yeah.
So it is.
Well, it is very much a we. It's not
because
just,
otherwise, how do you? Right.
yeah, I need the buy-in for people to. I mean, I'm not saying hugely sacrifice. I'm not like doing pay cuts or anything, but to like maybe forego pay raises or very much of a pay raise for a while we build up profitability. So there's actually money in the bank to do this.
Yeah, but
it's we in that sense, you know.
And I think that, that's a rare thing, and I think everybody values that a lot.
Yeah.
And this is. We should talk about more fun stuff.
Yeah. I was worried about getting into that too far.
No,
I mean, it's exciting to me.
It was just fun because this is a project you've been pouring your heart and soul into.
Yeah.
And to see it happen, see the big show.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I am a pretty good artist coach. So if you do want to get to that Tony Robbins, come out to smoke and confetti cannons, I can probably help you get there.
Okay.
All right, just if it.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, we can find it.
I can see it now. A random ballroom. It's 200 seats and a huge stage and lights and music. And
we're probably going to need to get you some turtlenecks. Yeah. So,
I said we were going to be different in 10 years.
Yeah, it's going to be all turtlenecks. Yeah, so what else is going on? So, you guys were talking about pop choir and this new idea of the pop in choir. Mm-hmm. And even as exciting as that idea is, I think it's brilliant that you guys are doing a thing where you're making an effort to have teachers do some choir arrangements of some tunes that aren't out there, because not that it matters, but for anybody who cares, like, because there are only so many arrangements.
Yeah.
And this is just what I've heard. I don't know, but talking to Joe and stuff, there's only so many arrangements out there if you just go buy a choir choral arrangement.
For pop music.
Yeah. Right? And you guys are starting to do some original stuff, which I think, and the angle of that of being like, not only are you singing with a pop choir, but you're getting to do something that's an original take on a tune that isn't just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm doing Rolling in the Deep.
Right.
So it's super easy. I mean, it's a little time consuming, but not as bad as I would think it would be.
Right.
I'm just putting in the parts in MIDI so I can solo them and bounce out different mixes. Right. The thing that is taking a little while is inputting the lyrics onto the score.
Boy, that is... Yeah.
I'm just learning how to do that tonight.
That is time-consuming. I've done it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But this is way faster than when I arranged music for my a cappella group between my freshman and sophomore years of college, which I did with pen and paper.
Yeah.
And a little portable keyboard.
That's how I learned to orchestrate was, I literally staff paper and the whole thing.
Yeah. Although it wasn't a pen, it was a pencil, and I remember I practically was like erasing through the paper, like so many changes. And then to try to test it out, I would have to, play all three parts, reading all the parts. I guess we usually had 4 parts.
I bet you had 4 parts, yeah.
Playing them all to just like see how they went together, and it's so much easier now with the tools we have.
Yeah, so fill me in though. Are the choir arrangements going to be choir on top of band, or okay? So these are choir on top of band.
Yeah, it's not an a cappella arrangement.
Okay,
it's a choir on.
It's
over
designed
band,
for like we do at the showcases, where the choir is going to perform with a backing band. Yeah,
and I took some liberties adding some vocal lines that don't exist.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so there's some little fun stuff in there. I mean, it's fairly faithful to the original recording because there are a lot of vocals in the original recording.
There's a ton.
There's a lot. But then there's some parts where there's just a lead vocal, and I took the liberty of adding some like oohs to pad underneath and some interesting moves.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be fun. So, working on that, trying to get that done because Pop Choir starts next week.
Yeah.
I hope people sign up. I have no idea.
It's coming up.
Yeah.
But so exciting, and I think that's really going to become something because it's a really cool thing. So you also speaking of you doing stuff, you played another church gig while I was it when I was in Orlando? Was it just yesterday?
You were traveling back, so yeah, it was just yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, went great. Some of the stuff that I'm working on, the way I've been getting into Tyler's head, playing the songs the way that he plays them, has already started to infiltrate into some of my playing, even on stage at the church.
You were mentioning,
so
yeah.
You know how it takes a while for something that you're working on in practice to make its way onto stage.
Right.
So I was pleased to see that some of the ways of thinking that I've been working on for not more than a month, and probably less than that because of our travel, are already making their way onto stage. Like I was, instead of keeping my hand in one position all the time, sometimes I was like, this would sound better if I was on the same string, if I slid up and down, or if I would it was some small things.
Right.
Nothing risky. But I got 4 compliments on my bass playing afterwards.
Wow. Which is, in that situation
that's I don't know, unheard of. I don't know. It's not like I told Nate I think I get extra credit for being a woman.
Yeah.
Whether that's right or wrong.
And the fact that the bass is larger than you, it doesn't hurt. It's not really, but it is
funny.
Quite a picture. Yeah. With you working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how about you? You are working on something for that LA mastering guy.
Well, gosh, we've been talking about that project for a while, but finally, after all this time, we were, while I was in Tallahassee, I was finishing up, and I talked about it when we were on the Carabel River. It was some of the remote work I was doing, which was preparing for Lee Clark Allen to go work with Mike Bozzi, B-O-Z-Z-I, who I didn't realize this until today. He was the mastering engineer on Childish Gambino's This Is America.
No way.
Yeah, he mastered that.
Dang.
And it's worked with Kendrick Lamar and Snoop Dogg and Linkin Park.
Damn.
And got on the phone with me at one point. We were going back and forth about, like, there were a couple of mixed things or like revision things of like, oh, this didn't bounce quite right or whatever. Sometimes with virtual instruments, we were talking about MIDI, sometimes with virtual instruments, they will misfire
yes.
in a bounce.
Oh my gosh, that drives me crazy.
Where every other time it's fine, and then you go to finalize the file and just one synth line decides to play
at the wrong time.
Yeah. And we had one of those. I checked meticulously, but we had one of those, and there was some stuff like that. And then at one point, I got a phone call, and anyway, it was the mastering engineer on the line, and I was like dying inside because I was like, there must be some problem that is so complicated that it's not going through our mutual client.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? That was my immediate reaction was like...
You got a phone call from the mastering engineer for Childish Gambino, Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar.
Thinking the only reason this guy's going to get on the phone with me is if whatever technical problem we have is so specialized, he can't explain it to our client in the middle. Mm-hmm. Because usually how that would go is the client's there in LA, and they were in Studio City. They were right by Capitol. Capitol Studios. They were like right there. Anyway, usually the mastering engineer would tell the client, hey, talk to your mixing engineer, who was me in this situation. Whatever's wrong with this mix, synth didn't fire in the right place. Let's get another bounce out, blah, blah, blah. A couple little things like that. So I get a call from the mastering engineer. And of course my thought is, we have a major problem that he can't explain to the client. He's got to talk to me about it. And no, he was calling to say that he loved the work and basically to thank me for doing the job I did on it. And
Go! Justin!
I was also blown away because I was like, I thought we were so screwed. Like, why else would... And I've been doing this forever. Like, a guy isn't going to get on the phone with you unless, like, we got a problem. And he just called to say, like, this stuff is
Nice.
super high quality. And he was like, I don't know what you guys think you need me for. This is like,
Whoa.
like, he was like, I'm going to do it. I'm happy for the work. But he was like, man, and he was like, thanks for, like, he was, it was just a really, like, whew. It went from, we're all going to die, to you're a pretty cool guy at whiplash speed. It was just, it was unbelievable.
That's so cool. Congratulations.
Yeah, it really was. It really validated the work I have put into that project, and the effort to kind of get some stuff right. And, we're back at it. We're doing a second round of extra special polishing. But,
oh, no.
Everything ends someday. I can't live forever, can I? Yeah, it was just really funny to get that call. And he was such a nice guy. We spent a minute and we chatted and talked.
Cool.
Some tech stuff.
That's great.
Yeah, it was really fun. Incredibly kind of someone like that to give somebody a call just for an attaboy. That's really nice thing.
That's great.
For somebody to do. But yeah, that was a great thing, and that capped off my week. And again, it was just like this really validating thing, and yeah, we boy, and out of the frying pan into the fire. We're right back. This month is going to be wild.
And I'm going to make you write a book with me.
Yeah, and we're writing a book about cleaning hardwood floors. What was it again? Vacuuming?
You're good at both of those things.
I do.
He does most of that
I
stuff.
do those things. That's why I assume that's what the book was about.
Yeah, stage performance.
Performance.
Yeah, we have a standing weekly appointment to make regular progress on that thing now that you're back.
I think it's going to fly,
Yep.
honestly.
Yep.
I think we've got just a bunch.
We've got something unique to say, and I think we have an audience.
And it's almost recalling conversations. So much of it is conversations we often have on the drive home after shows. We're talking about this issue, that issue, how that works. I think if we just start talking about some of that stuff, it's just gonna fly down to the page.
And then we need to do that album we mentioned last year.
Yeah, we need to do that.
Of original music for Adriano. But yeah,
lots of stuff percolating, lots of stuff going.
Not actually on the calendar yet.
Yeah, it will be. But yeah, that's the update. I've been back in for about 24 hours now. So, sorry.
Yeah, you're a little
not bringing the normal Razzle Dazzle.
That's you, the Razzle Dazzle.
I know. I'm a high energy entertainer. Anyway, we'll probably tie this up.
Yeah.
Anything else to mention?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. Boy, I will say my one lesson that I continually learn and I continually get better about, but it really hit me again with the no address thing. Boy, does taking notes and writing stuff down and not necessarily charting all the time, but I would encourage everybody to, if you do music, to work on your charting and note-taking skills. I know that was one of the things that helped us so much was even looking back 10 years ago, I did not have the aptitude of being able to be like, let me write a quick sketch of that, and I have a sense of where the bars are, and are the chords going one chord per bar, are they going 2 chords per bar, and just being able to make quick notes of like, what did we just do? Let me write it down, and I can be pretty accurate about writing it down. I should get better at it. I should do it more when I'm mixing and doing everything else. But man, that was my takeaway for the week.
Oh, okay. I forgot we were going to do takeaways.
We were going to do takeaways.
So your takeaway is write things down.
Yeah, I need to get way better at that.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm already so much better than I was. But it just made me realize, like, boy, can you, like, just amplify your ability to get stuff done if you're like,
yeah,
what did we just do? don't worry, I wrote it down. I can tell you what we just did.
Yeah, for sure. What's my takeaway this week?
You've just been in mania mode.
I have been in mania mode. I know we're going to wrap this up, but I periodically get this literal mania. I mean, it's not like I'm not bipolar, but it has the feeling of a runaway energy that sometimes I can't turn off. Mm-hmm. And it hasn't happened in quite a while. It used to happen on a regular basis, and I loved writing it. And I would ride it until I crashed. And that was just my pattern. Like, this is so much fun. I'm going to ride this. And, like, I can barely sleep. I mean, I do sleep, but, like, my sleep isn't deep. And I'm not that interested in eating. And all I can do is, like, super focus on whatever the thing is that I'm doing. And I did it for, like, a year when I started Performance High.
Right.
And then I kept burning myself out. And so I got to the point where even at the beginning of the mania, I would be like, I can't do this again. And so the whole cycle stopped. And I haven't experienced it in a few years. But it happened December 30, 31, January 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, now through the 8th. It really hit a fever pitch a couple days ago where I was like, I know I'm being a lunatic. Like, I am just, like, pinging everybody. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. I'm, like, making graphics, and I'm, like, adding notes, and I'm, and I was like, I need to calm down because I don't want to crash again. And for the first time ever, I came out of this, I'll call it a mania, with a soft landing. Like, I felt myself getting sleepy about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, lay down, took a nap, I got under the heater blanket, and just, like, swaddled myself. Joe's word. I swaddled myself in a heated blanket. And just, like, drifted off, and my whole body relaxed. And then I was just, like, at a normal level of productivity after that. So,
yeah,
I don't know what to take away from that, but, like,
I think the main. This isn't a takeaway. I would probably respond to that with, I mean, probably a better word than mania, which has all these negative connotations, is just passion. Like, you found
an
idea and a train of thought you were passionate about, and you kind of, like, you were on the trail of the idea.
Okay. That's generous.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you get... There's nothing more intoxicating than being on the trail of an idea where you're just like, oh, I can.
Right.
And, like, it's like.
And it's coming through the doorway from idea into reality.
Yeah.
And you're helping it. You're like bringing it through the doorway, and it's your work, and, like, you're the one making this thing real.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And you're just so excited to be like, I want to get out of bed in the morning because I want to get back on.
Yeah.
Because I'm so close to, like.
Yes. That's what it was.
That is, I mean, that is one of the great things about life, is finding those things that you...
Yeah.
And maybe they're few and far between, and maybe you only get to experience in that pure, focused level not that often, but it's pretty cool when you get to have those experiences.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. I like how you recast that into a much more positive light.
Yeah, it's a healthier way to talk about it.
I can tend to be too negative.
Let's do this real quick. We are sponsored, as always, by Performance High.
Voice and Music Studio.
We are also sponsored by Denver because we're happy to be here.
We're sponsored by the city of Denver.
By the city of Denver, more specifically Wheat Ridge, because that is where my house is.
Thank you, Wheat Ridge.
Glad to be in it. Thank you, Wheat Ridge.
All right. It's been long enough.
All right, here we go.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Bye.